Hey, hey, hey. Good afternoon, everybody. Come on in. Good afternoon, guys and gals. Good afternoon. Come on in and do me a favor and like and share this video. This is November's edition of For the First, on the First, by the First, and I am Trina Davis. Come on in. Thank you for joining. Come on in and like and share if you don't mind. Today is November 1st, and it is my pleasure to speak with you a little bit here on this Facebook Live on November 1st. Hola. Come on in and speak and say hi and all that stuff if you don't mind. And please, ma'ams and sirs, share the video. I won't be before you long, as the preachers say, but for real, I won't be. But today is November 1st, and it again is November's edition of For the First, on the First, by the First, a vision given to me to encourage and empower and enrich first ladies, first families, firstborns, first to ever do it. If you are first in anything, this platform is for you. Today, as advertised on last month's first, we have a specific audience that we're talking to, but I invited everybody because, number one, you never know who or what you'll be in the future, so this information will be helpful to you. And you may have your First Lady's ear. You may be influential when it comes to her, and this may be some tools or some information you could use to cultivate her and help her and encourage her to be the best she can be. So it is open to all who will hear. He that hath an ear, let him hear. So as last month, we talked about the subject for today. And so I'm going to get right to it. The subject is, my husband is called to ministry. Does that automatically mean I am too? And I have gotten through the years I have heard a lot of commentary from people concerning this particular subject and topic. Most of the commentary that I've heard came from people who are not married and people who are not married to a preacher. So their opinion or their advice and words did not hold a lot of weight at that time that I heard them, because I felt like it needed more research. And I have gathered some experience to go along with my opinion. Again, the topic is, my husband is called to ministry. Does that automatically mean I am too? Do me a favor and tag somebody that might want to chime in. So before I give my answer, I have some things that I want you to consider. And please feel free to talk back to me. Please feel free to talk back to me. I would love to have a conversation. That's why I went live and didn't just post a video. I want you to talk to me, okay? Consider this. Marriage is covenant. Hey, Lady Lakeisha. Marriage is covenant. It is spiritual. Marriage is covenant and it is spiritual. Marriage is the two becoming one flesh. Consider this. Marriage is the representation or the symbolism of Christ's love for the church. Hence, we, the church, are the bride of Christ. Consider this. And I use the word consider because I don't want you to take my words as fact, but just something for you to think about. And I'm giving you biblical principles because marriage is of God. It was founded by God, ordained of God. It's a spiritual covenant. and we're talking about my husband being in ministry, does that automatically mean I am too? So why wouldn't I go to the word if we're talking about ministry? So if you are married and you're not in ministry, then you wouldn't agree and you wouldn't possibly be aligned with what I'm saying. But for those of you that are in covenant with, those of you ladies that are in covenant with a preacher, ministry, and I'm talking to you specifically, I'm trying to tell you that you can't treat your calling like your career because it's spiritual. My husband is called to minister. Does that automatically mean I am too? Let me go grab me a covenant. Marriage is one of the most beautiful things God ever created. Agreed, agreed, agreed. Again, it was created by God. Marriage is covenant. It is spiritual. Again, it's the representation or the symbolism of Christ's love for the church. That's why the church is called the bride of Christ. And too many people are treating their calling like it's their career. It is spiritual. Marriage is spiritual. Consider Amos chapter 3, verse 3. It says, can two walk together except they be agreed? Somebody put in the comments for me, Amos 3 and 3, in case you need to go back and read what it says. Amos 3 and 3. Amos chapter 3, verse 3 says, can two walk together except they be agreed? I like the Message translation. Somebody said the whole house is in ministry. Follow me as I follow Christ. Come on. The Message translation says, do two people walk hand in hand if they aren't going the same place? The question on the table is, my husband is called to ministry. Does that automatically mean I am too? I'm just giving you things to consider as you answer. Do two people walk hand in hand if they aren't going to the same place, according to the Message translation? That's Amos 3 and 3. I want to let you know that you are equally yoked. You're one flesh. If my husband is called into ministry, does that automatically mean I am too? Before you answer, you too have become one flesh. Consider marriage is a covenant. And number two, consider marriage is consensual. What am I saying? When you took the vows unified you. The vows solidified you. We are on one accord. We are in agreement with one another. Marriage is consensual. The only way marriage is not consensual is that you never consummated the marriage. If you have consummated your marriage, that's how the two become one flesh. If he has seeded in you, in case you don't get it, if he has seeded in you, that means his spirit has been poured into you. The Bible says we are one flesh. He cannot, how is it, because I don't want to put words in your mouth. I just want to answer the question. Consider this. How is it that his spirit has been called of God, but you didn't get the calling? And he has seeded in you, and the two of you have become one flesh. And also the Bible says likewise, thank you, because the two of you are equally yoked, and you two walk and are agreed, and you have become one flesh. You have been called into ministry according to the way marriage is designed, according to how God set this thing up, according to your vows, according to your covenant, according to you consenting to the two of you becoming one flesh, according to you and he consummating the marriage, he in ministry, you in ministry. The problem becomes when you get your roles mixed up. You both are called, but you have different avenues. You both are in ministry, but you have different assignments. You both are in ministry, but you have different roles. There are too many first ladies that are hanging on to the excuse that somebody who's not a first lady or somebody who isn't the senior pastor's wife, or somebody who not even married will say, just because he a preacher don't mean you got to be a preacher. No, you don't have to be a preacher. But because he is in ministry, you are in ministry. Even though I said I do, but sometimes I don't, we are still one. You're one. You're one. If you ever had the sex, as my daughter says, the two flesh became one. Most people confuse ministry for preaching, and being in ministry does not always mean we preach. As a matter of fact, I said it. You're both in ministry, but you may have different roles, different callings, different responsibilities, rather. But you're both called to ministry, unless we both have accepted that call to preach, like in my house. Come on, we preachers over here. And there's nothing wrong with you if you are not a preacher. Stop saying you're not called to ministry if you're not a preacher. There are so many different avenues and so many different say it again. Facets. Thank you. Facets. That's the word I'm looking for. Facets to ministry. Till you should stop reducing call to ministry as a preacher. If my husband is called to ministry, does that automatically mean I am too? Yes. Your job and your responsibility is to find out what is your assignment in that ministry. And I want to speak to those of you that have been constantly saying we should stop putting these first ladies in charge of stuff. We should stop putting these first ladies over this and over that. You know, just because your husband is don't mean you are. You're not married. You're not in that marriage. You don't know what that covenant means. So stop giving advice for stuff that you have no idea what you're talking about. This is not how that goes. We are in ministry together. We have different responsibilities. We have different roles. I may not be the preacher. I may not be the pastor. You may not be the preacher. You may not be the pastor. But when the head is in ministry, like it was said further up in the comments, the house is in ministry. The wife is in ministry. The house is in ministry. Because the two become one flesh. You can't get around it. You can't get around it. So stop using the excuse of I'm not preaching because he a preacher, or he didn't call me to preach. I don't do that. I don't do that. No, you may not preach, but you're in ministry. And so your entire life, whether you're rejecting it, whether you're showing it on your face, your bad attitude, you're not being able to talk to people, you're not knowing how to conduct yourself, the way you dress, all of that is ministry. You may never pick up the Bible and say, turn your Bible to. But every time you walk in the door, how you treat people, where you sit, how you hold yourself, how you speak to people is your ministry. Because you're connected and the two become one flesh. Another thing I want to add on to this while we're talking about first ladies and women in ministry and your husband being called to ministry, does that automatically mean I am too? Yes, you are. Teach a class, Pastor. These young preachers need your wisdom. I'm here on the first. It's for the first, on the first, by the first. And for those of you that have, and I'm really talking to, at this point, to the senior pastors and to those of you that have said such things. How is it that the pastor is the senior pastor and his wife is the lady of the house, but she is not over women's ministry? I'm going to wait. It's a dysfunctional family. Now, I didn't say that her lane was to teach women. But she cannot have somebody else over her if she is in covenant with the senior. She is over the women's ministry. Now, it can be her job to get whoever is anointed to teach the lessons, but they can't boss her. They can't lead her. They can't be over her. The teller at Chase is not over the manager. The teller at Chase is not over the boss at Chase Bank. He's not over the president of the company. He has a different role. The president of the company doesn't necessarily come down during office hours and hand you your money, but nothing is done without the head getting it together, without the head putting it in order. What if you're not called to the women's ministry? That's out of order. You are called to set order in the house. You're called to set order in the house. If your job is to be the senior pastor's wife, you cannot say, I'm not called to women if you're the mother of the house. How you a mother and you're not called to take care of your children? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You may have to get some outside sources, some resources to help you navigate through things, to show you how it's supposed to run. You may have to get some advice. You may need a team. This one is going to teach. This one is going to reach. This one is going to administrate. This one is going to do the games. This one is going to do the data information. But you're in charge. You're over the ministry because you are the senior woman of the house. You're the lady of the house. They need to come to you to get guidance, not you looking up to them. The one in charge of women's ministry, the one over women's ministry is the mother of the house. And if it's not in order, that's part of the reason why we have all this dysfunction going on in the church, because we have women who are hanging on to the excuse, well, that's not my lane. Find your lane. Cultivate your calling, your ministry, because if your husband is called, you called. And you just got to figure out your place in that. And I blame some of the senior pastors. Because if your household is not happy, you know down on the inside, if you let her do what she's been called to do, that unhappiness is going to spread out amongst the people. You know that she not acting right at home. You not treating her right at home, or things ain't going right at home. You know that's going to spill out over into the church folk. So you say, that's not her lane. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to be over people because you don't know how to talk to people. So you don't know how to do this and you don't know how to do that. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Yes. My answer is, my husband is called into ministry. Does that automatically mean I am too? Yes. If you're equally yoked, if your marriage has been consummated, if you're following the covenant, if the two are walking and they are in agreement, if the two become one flesh, how can you both come together? Let's use parents as an example. How can you both come together and he seeds into you and you birth the child, but he gets to say, I'm not a parent? Whether or not he's a good father, that's on him. But it makes him a father when you have the kid, because you came together and you consummated the relationship. When you come together and you consummate the relationship, you in ministry too. Whether or not you walk in your lane correctly, whether or not you do what you're supposed to do, that's on you. But it should not be said that because my husband is in ministry, that ain't got nothing to do with me. And there's too many people, too many women, too many first ladies that are saying their husband's ministry has nothing to do with them. As a matter of fact, the failure or the success of it has everything to do with you. I love you and I thank you so much for watching. I'm coming back the first Sunday in December with For the First, on the First, by the First. Thank you guys so much. If you'd like to sow a seed, my Cash App is Pastor Trina. One word, Pastor Trina. And I thank you. Somebody put that in the comments for me. $ Pastor Trina, that's my cash app. $ mic drop. Pastor Trina. That's my cash app if you'd like to sow a seed. Invite somebody, share this video with somebody, go back and watch it. Let me know what your thoughts is, and I thank you so very much for spending a few minutes of your Sunday afternoon with me. Next Sunday at not next Sunday, I'm sorry, the first Sunday in December, we will be back again, Facebook Live for the first, on the first, by the first. I'm Pastor Trina. Thank you so much.